All right, good evening, everybody. I am Mayor Mark Landman, and I'd like to welcome everybody, both those of you here today in the audience, as well as everybody watching us online, as we call to order this joint meeting of the Cotati City Council and the successor agency to the former Cotati Community Redevelopment Agency for Tuesday, March 27th. I'm going to begin tonight by introducing our council and city staff, and I'm joined on the dais by Vice Mayor John DeLasso, Councilmember Susan Harvey, Councilmember Wendy Skillman, and Councilmember John Moore. And we also have City Manager Damien Obid, City Attorney Robin Donahue, our Community Development Director Vicki Parker, City Engineer Director of Public Works Craig Scott, our Administrative Services Director Norm Veloso, and we also have John Paul Harris, Senior Planner, here with us tonight. And we have our Deputy City Clerk, Lauren Burgess. And with that, I'll ask our Deputy City Clerk if we could have a roll call, please.
Councilmember Skillman?
Here.
Councilmember Moore?
Here.
Mayor Landman?
Here.
Vice Mayor DeLasso?
Here.
Councilmember Harvey?
Here.
Thank you. All right, with that, we're to our Pledge of Allegiance, and I'm going to ask tonight if we can ask our Honorary Mayor, Riley Jones of Rancho Cotati High School, to lead us, if she will.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Riley. This takes us to item 4, which is approval of minutes, and notice of waiving or reading of all resolutions and ordinance introduced and or adopted under this agenda. This is an action item, and we do have 2 items tonight, the minutes from our regular meeting of March 13th, as well as the minutes from the strategic planning special meeting. And before we discuss this, I was just looking this way and see if anybody wanted to comment. Please approach.
On the strategic planning special meeting, there was no roll call vote, but there was, in the minutes, it looks exactly like it had a roll call vote. It was not on the agenda to have a roll call vote. So I would like to demand that it be stricken of which council members were there, and at least ask for the advice of the city attorney on whether these are proper minutes, considering there was no roll call vote. I mean, roll call or on the agenda.
Thank you. Anybody else want to speak on this item? Mr. Barrich.
Good evening, Council. For the benefit of the audience, my name is George Barrich. I'm a former city councilman here. I'm also another distinguished guest here tonight with Lori Alderman as a former city councilman and ongoing coach to the Cotati City Council. Regarding the minutes of the strategic planning meeting, I was also in attendance at that meeting, and there was no roll call. Although the minutes tonight reflect that there was a recall. Now, this isn't the end of the earth, because I just think it's worthy of Lori Alderman and myself to bring this up, that it wasn't on the agenda packet. No roll call was taken, and I think just for transparency and honesty and integrity, probably good to strike from the minutes that there was a roll call, and we'll just go forward from there. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to speak on this? Seeing none, we're going to bring this back. Okay, so now I understand, Councilmember Harvey, you weren't able to be at the strategic planning meeting, but other than that one abstention, is there any objection to approving the meetings as written from the council?
No.
Seeing none, that moves are approved as written. And that takes us to announcements. And I'll begin with meeting orientation for new attendees and viewers. In conformance with the Brown Act and the adopted City Council rules, the meeting agenda includes items labeled as action items, where the City Council will consider the item and citizens are afforded the opportunity to provide comments relevant to the item being discussed. The meeting agenda also includes a citizens' business item, which is the designated place on the agenda where citizens have the right to say whatever they wish. The City Council may or may not choose to respond to comments as the government code allows. However, if the City Council declines to respond, it should not be perceived as giving credence to or agreeing with any statements that the City Council or its members believe are incorrect, misinformed, or purposely biased. The City of Cotati has special open-off hours on Monday evenings from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. by appointment in the Community Development Department at City Hall as part of its Cotati Open for Business program. This program provides personalized assistance and information to developers, current Cotati business owners, and those interested in starting a new business in the city. The Rona Park Cotati Regional Library hosts events for all ages, including art exhibits, book clubs, and children's programs. All events are free and open to the public, and for more information, you can call the library at 584-9121 or at sonomalibrary.org on the web. The Cotati Historical Society Museum is open regularly the second Tuesday of each month from 5 to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 1 to 4 p.m., and also by appointment. For more information, you can call them at 707-794-0305. Citizens interested in receiving City of Cotati community alerts via text or email are encouraged to sign up at nixle.com, and that is nixle.com. And the city is looking for rec leaders to help out with summer and break camps. You're invited to come join our team for a fun and rewarding experience. You can apply online at cotaticity.org under Employment, or contact our Recreation Department Coordinator, Ashley Wilson, at 707-665-4222 for more information. And speaking of recreation, the city offers a variety of recreation programs for all ages. More details on the web at cotaticity.org. And lastly, I would be remiss if I didn't mention we have the Historical Society Barbecue coming up Sunday, April 8th. For those of you who have not been there, this is perhaps the largest half chicken in the world. I don't know where Gilardi gets these, but they are huge. They are good. There's also a bake sale, music, a raffle, and some classic cars to look at. So everybody who hasn't been there, you're invited to come down. And that's our announcements for tonight. Next, we have our honorary Joan, Riley Jones from Rancho Cotati High School, is back to visit us a second time. Welcome back, Honorary Mayor.
Good evening. So I have two topics that I came up with for things that I'd like to see improved. And the first I thought of when I was driving home from work, because I work at the Washoe House on the corner of Stony Point and Robler Road. And when I drive home at night, I drive home on West Sierra that comes back from Stony Point, and there's no lights on that road at all. And it's a pretty windy road, and it's very intimidating for a new driver like myself to drive that road in the dark. And I know there's also two other kids my age that work there, so it's not only me, there's multiple unexperienced drivers driving home on that dark road. And not only for me, for other people in the city as well. And the second topic would be some things that I asked other students at my school. I asked what they'd like to see improved around, their city, their town, their school. And I got a lot of students asking that any community service opportunities, like you had mentioned last time, asked me if I needed the hours, which I personally don't, but other students think it would be more helpful if they were more publicized and made easier to find more information on and more options. And one way to do that would just to drop a list off by my school to say during the announcements, because I know our student ASB, they give announcements every fourth period about things going on in the school, and they have a couple times mentioned a couple community service opportunities that had been going on through my school, but nothing outside of that really. So that's it. Thank you.
Super. That is a great suggestion. I think you made the Vice Mayor incredibly happy because he's always looking for that. So that's very good. I'm going to look to see if anybody in the council has any questions for you or comments tonight.
No questions. I do like the idea of the community service opportunities, and as was pointed out in the announcements by the mayor, we are looking for rec leaders to help out with some of the summer break camps. So that might be a possible win-win situation, because I believe those are paid leaders, so might get hours and be able to get paid. So might be a win-win situation there.
Although just the experience alone is worth millions of dollars. So just keep that in mind, Riley. You know, I wanted to follow up, so that's great. I think getting the announcements, I'm curious now, are those daily, weekly?
They are daily. Mondays, we have a student representative from our associated student body come into each fourth period class and make verbal announcements, like in person to the class, and then Tuesday through Friday, they're over the loudspeaker to all the classes during the fourth period.
I just kind of remember when I was in high school, those announcements over the loudspeakers. I really never paid attention to them very much, but if somebody's in the classroom talking, I think that's probably a little more effective. So we'll probably have to devise some kind of a good communication system with the high school and get, you know, whatever the list of opportunities would be on some kind of a regular basis. And then, you know, the following Monday, those announcements could be made in the class, and I think that'll probably be really effective. So thank you for that. I really appreciate hearing that. And thanks for coming back.
Anything over here from this side?
Actually, it's perfect timing. Before the meeting, I was talking with Ashley Wilson, who's the director of recreation, and she was commenting that she keeps reaching out to Rancho and reaching out to Tech High and saying, we've got all these great volunteer opportunities, and there's been no one person that she can connect with to give the information to. So I don't know if there's an ASB, like a student teacher advisor or something like that. But if there's any way you could get that name to Ashley, just because she's really been trying to get, you know, she's like, oh, these great, I mean, they just had an Easter egg or an Easter event on Sunday, and she said it would have been great to have people helping her out and setting things up and cleaning things up and all of that. But, and also watching kids taking pictures with the Easter Bunny. How fun is that? So anyway, that would be great if you could get her a name, because she's really been trying hard to reach out to the school and get that information to the students.
Do you have an email for her by any chance? Or?
I do. Is it Ashley.Wilson or A Wilson?
Mm-hmm. It's awilson@cotatiCity.org.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll write that. You got it?
I've
Okay.
got it right here.
All right. No, but that would be perfect, because she was saying to me how she's really been trying to reach out to more to the student body and get, you know, hey, juniors and seniors are looking for hours. Let us know. And everything that she does is a lot of fun and involves a lot of kids' projects. So it'd be great. All right. Thanks.
Thank you, Riley. It's a great idea with the ASB and the announcements on there. And then regarding West Sierra going out toward WashU, I think most of that road is county unincorporated, so it's not city purview. But it might be something to bring up to the county on maybe some sort of reflectors or something that might be more helpful out there, especially in the evenings. So thanks very much.
Yeah, I'm going to echo my colleagues' comments. Unfortunately, we can't quite reach out there. We are doing some lighting in town, but we're kind of starting from the center, actually in La Plaza, and working out. It will be the closest we're getting in that direction will be lighting over by the tunnel on School Street, West School Street, that connects to the downtown. But I imagine as we go, we'll see what we can do out there, and it couldn't hurt to ask about reflectors, maybe, because that is very dark. My colleagues have answered the question, because I jotted down list to who. I wanted to see who we should contact at your school. I'd like to suggest if we could make sure she has the city manager's card before she leaves. I'd like you to be able to get that information from her, so she has your email address. And I wonder if we could not follow through, somebody rather, I'm looking at the city manager, but I bet that will go somewhere else, follow through with some of the other schools, because I think that's a great idea. And if we're putting the information together on a regular basis to send to them to use, it might as well go to everybody, because I think most students do have those needs to get those community service hours. So we'll help them, and we'll help the community. So I want to thank you very much for being here as honorary mayor. I have a very nice proclamation here for you, and I'm going to bring that down, and I'd like to invite you, and if you have anybody with you, who's here with you tonight?
My dad, Keenan.
Your dad, Keenan. Come on up. And I'll invite the council down to join us for a quick picture.
Would you like me to use your phone?
And our next order of business is a proclamation. I wonder if I have anybody here for National Surveyors Week. I'm looking in the audience. I do not. Well, we do have a very nice proclamation for you, and it's rather impressive. Congratulations on all the fine work the surveyors do. These proclamations are always rather interesting when we see the depth of what some of these community people do. And we're to presentations, and I believe we have our Sonoma State University student body representative, Isabel Braceno, here tonight. Welcome, Isabel.
I don't have a lot. We just got back from spring break. It was really nice having a week break. And it was, oh, I went somewhere sunny. I guess it rained a lot here, but it's okay. I'm sure it was good for the weather. I don't know. But we are going into elections for our AS Senate, and we will be having voting on April 9th and 10th. And so the campaign officially started yesterday, and people are going through that, and we'll see how it ends up. We are hiring through AS for students. We're hiring for like all our positions for next year, and we're kind of wrapping up the year and getting ready. And we have about 6 to 8 more weeks. I'm not really sure. And yeah.
Interesting. Any questions for Isabel from the council?
That's it.
I got to ask you. So what is election season like on the campus? How long does it go, and what's involved in typical campaigns?
It started Monday, and it'll go till the 10th. So I think 2 weeks, and it's pretty quick. It kind of depends who's running. Last year was more intense than I've seen it this year. I think it's slowly, as the week goes on, more people will have posters up, and that's kind of what we do as posters, and we have a small debate, and then, yes, for our executive office.
I have a feeling SSU probably has the best posters, especially towards the end of the election cycle. I'd like to see that sometime. Well, if nobody has anything else, I'm going to thank you for being here again tonight, Isabel.
Have a great rest of your day.
Take care. All right, we are to approval of the final agenda. This is an action item. Any changes, City Manager Obid?
No changes.
All right, this is an action item. I'm going to see if anybody wanted to comment. Not seeing anything, I am moving forward. To citizens' business and public comment for consent calendar items. And I do need to read on this. I see you're first. You can relax and put your hand. I'll let you come up. Let me just read this first, though. It'll take me just a second. You know, I always have to do this. They require it. Any member of the public wishing to speak to the council on any items listed on the consent calendar or any matters not listed on the agenda that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council may do so at this time. Pursuant to the Brown Act, the council is not allowed to consider issues or take action on any item not listed on the agenda during this period. Pursuant to City Council Policy 2017-02, comments of any member of the public are normally restricted to a total of 3 minutes in length per person for matters not on the agenda, and a total of 3 minutes per person in length for any and all items on the consent calendar. The mayor may extend the time limit for a reasonable time where a disability accommodation has been requested. And Ms. Aldrin, we'll open with you tonight.
I would like to speak on the special strategic planning meeting that happened last Tuesday. For one thing, it didn't have the roll call. It also did not have a agenda item that Mr. Moore decided, and you all continued on Facebook posts and slandering me and George for your pleasure. You also, you abuse the 24 hours notice. That's supposed to be special. It's not supposed to, that had been planned for weeks. It didn't give enough 48 hours to do any disability accommodations. I was told to sit in the corner as usual, but my disability accommodations, I need a table for long lengths of time. These kind of, they're just Brown Act violations, and you guys need to bring them into this, have them webcast. You're not allowed to just speak on anything you want to at any time and attack people, because there's no webcast on the going on. That's what happened. I was totally disgusted at each one of you that was there about how you did this meeting. It's wrong, and it shouldn't have never happened, and you obviously have done it for years and never changed. You won't give an inch. You won't do anything, and I'm tired of it. It's and I want to know what strategic planning happened. It looked like Damien told you what the city wanted. You guys was going to do, and then you did a report. You didn't talk and discuss about strategic planning. You let Damien run the show. He's one person. It wasn't collaborative. Other than that, I think that's it for, I want to do consent calendar later.
You want to do consent later?
Yes.
All right, fine. Anybody else for public? Mr. Barrich, for citizens' business.
Council, I too would like to speak about the strategic planning meeting last Tuesday night. Lori Alderman, again, is 100% correct. It was not a strategic planning meeting that I've been used to seeing over the last 15, 20 years. This was something very different. Damien took the whole show. It was the Damien show, telling what projects are completed, which projects are on the drawing board, and I didn't hear much of anything from the council in making any plans. You've delegated everything to the city manager, and I don't think that's leadership at all. Also, early on in the meeting, Lori Alderman objected to Mr. Moore asserting or implying that Ms. Alderman is not telling the truth on Facebook. Lori Alderman objected, and as soon as she objected, the mayor said, "You're out of order." And that's not how the procedure is supposed to be. If somebody makes an objection, give them 5 or 10 seconds to make their objection. They could be absolutely correct. Then you rule whether you want to sustain the objection or you want to overrule it. But just to cut her off like that and not even listen is not leadership. You know, you guys can learn something once in a while from your meetings on what you do right and what you do wrong. And then, Mr. Lamon, when you told Lori Alderman she was out of order and to be quiet, I had to sit there and listen to Wendy Skillman, Councilman Skillman, mumbling some nonsense where I couldn't even understand what you were saying, sir. Now, I don't know whether she wants to run the strategic meeting or not. Maybe you guys can discuss it, but I was planning to see you run it. And for her to mumble some nonsense was just beyond the pale. It wasn't funny either, sir. You know, I really wanted to hear what you had to say. Now, Mr. John Moore said during that meeting that he wanted to make sure that there were no lies posted on the city's Facebook page. He wanted only the truth, or the truth according to City Hall. See, there are two different kinds of truths going on sometimes. So which is it? You know, this city's version of the truth, standing on our city's website without any free speech from the public, is an invitation for a lawsuit, civil rights lawsuit. I would just hope that you don't go there and you keep it open. Sure, police the profanity, police the bullying, police the nonsense, but you have to allow for free speech on the city's website. Mr. Moore tends to want to take a more communist approach, that the state is always right and we'll only listen to state speech. The city cannot continue to investigate itself and police itself. So I commend Lori and others who are doing their investigations and doing some of the reporting that the Community Voice newspaper is just not doing. Good luck tonight.
Mr. Barrich,
Yes, sir.
did you want to speak on consent tonight?
Let me take a minute and think about it when it comes up.
Well, let's see. I think I have one person that does, so I'll invite that person up.
I'd like to speak on the consideration of supporting state Proposition 69, which is the transportation funds, and it's being on the June ballot. From what I read, it will bring from around 40,000 to 100,000. It'll make the jump, if it passes, to 100,000. Around 100,000 to the city Cotati. just because you're going to get more money doesn't mean you should support it. We pay enough taxes, and we just had this huge gas tax added on to and now you want more. And it just doesn't make sense. Where it's going to go to administration. It's not going to go, it's going to go to reports. See, have you seen West School Street, Richardson Lane? Those are falling apart, and the monies are not making it from the budget to the streets as it is. And so just putting more money rather than looking a pavement plan, sorry, I'm having trouble talking tonight, a pavement management plan so that things don't get to this point they are getting, especially the west side, which you all ignore, is getting really bad as far as the roads. And it needs to have more than your support for this bill. You need to have commitments to finding many resources for the local roads. Thank you.
Certainly. Mr. Barrett, last chance. You want to speak on consent? Very good. All right. Let's bring this back on a closed public comment. And we have 2 items on the consent calendar tonight. A, acceptance of well tank replacement project, and B, consideration supporting state Proposition 69. Do I have a motion?
Move
May-
to approve.
May I pull item B for a very brief comment?
You're going to go there. All right, of course you can pull
Thank you
item
so
B.
much.
Very good. So we're going to be voting on A.
So I'd like to move that we do item 11A.
Very good. Do I have a second for that, please?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilman Moore. All in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. That carries unanimously. And I'm going to open, let's go to B, consideration of supporting state Proposition 69. So we're going to have a short report on that. If we're going to pull it, we got to do that.
You have to have a report from staff?
If you're going to pull it, yep.
I'll be extremely brief.
Yeah.
So this doesn't do anything with the taxes. This proposition in the June ballot merely just protects transportation funding from being raided by the state and diverted for other purposes, which has happened historically. So it doesn't change the tax structure at all. It protects the tax that's there for transportation purposes. So that's what Prop 69 is for.
Very good.
Verbatim of what I was going to say. Thank you.
Yeah, you know, it is, to be fair, it's pretty late in the agenda piece, but in the end, if you read it, it's really about the state has a habit when they get in a difficult time of raiding other funds. And whether you support SB1 and think it's a good idea to work on roads, or whether you don't want to spend that much money. Either way, since it's passed, what you don't want is the state raiding it for other things. We want it used for local roads. So I think this is personally a very good idea. And if there's no further discussion,
I'll move to.
we've already had comments, so
I'll move to approve item B on the consent calendar.
very good. Do I have a second for that?
I'll-
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much, council. So let's see. Before we go to the regular agenda, I'm just going to check very quickly and see if we have any direction on future agenda items. None tonight? No? Very good. So we are to the regular agenda. And the first is a review of the proposed water transmission system budget, Sonoma County Water Agency fiscal year 2018-19. Welcome. And Mr. Obid or Mr. Scott, you're going to introduce our speaker tonight?
Yes, I will. My name is Craig Scott, Public Works Director, City Engineer, and with me tonight is Lynn Roselli. She's the Administrative Services Officer for the Sonoma County Water Agency. And this item here tonight is every year we come before council with to review the Sonoma County Water Agency's proposed budget. And there is a committee a technical committee that meets every month, and then a advisory committee made up of elected officials that meet every other month or so and listen to presentations by the water agency which provides us with about 3/4 of our wholesale or water supply, or drinking water supply. So that's why this is such importance. We have our own system of wells, which provides about 1/4 of our water supply, and then the water agency provides the rest. So their budget, which we'll hear a presentation from Lynn tonight on, it covers the operations and maintenance costs and the capital projects to keep that a viable and reliable system. And I think with that, I'll let Lynn take it away. Thank you.
Perfect, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Lynn Rosselli, Finance Manager, Water Agency. Good evening, Mayor, council members. Thank you for having me here. I'm here to present the proposed budget and rates for fiscal year 18-19 for the Water Agency's water transmission system. We worked collaboratively with the Technical Advisory Committee Budget Subcommittee that Craig Scott served on as well. We went through several iterations of the budget. We incorporated the changes, and we're pleased to bring you a budget that allows us to operate and maintain the water transmission system, build critical infrastructure projects, comply with the biological opinion requirements, and maintain a prudent reserve. The budget is based on 41,768 acre-feet in deliveries. The total rate on the Petaluma Aqueduct, where the city of Cotati is on the Petaluma Aqueduct, the rate is $877.88, and that represents a 3.67% rate increase. You'll also notice that there's a discretionary charge, a capital charge, that the water contractors are allowed to provide input on. That capital charge is to build fund balance for future projects, and it is used as a rate stabilization tool, again, to build fund balance for capital projects down the road to avoid rate spikes in the future. The rate is set according to the example that we're showing here. It is prescribed by the restructured agreement for water supply that is signed by all of the water contractors, and it takes the cost of operations and maintenance and divides by the quantity of water sold. The quantity of water sold is the last 12 months of actual water deliveries or the 3-year annual average water deliveries. And you can see in this example that the 3-year annual average water deliveries is less than the last 12 months. And when you do the math, you can see that you get the rate of $878 per acre foot. The 41,768 acre-feet in deliveries is 0.78% higher than this fiscal year's deliveries, so it's just marginally higher than this fiscal year's budgeted deliveries. It's also 5% less than the actual deliveries for the past 12 months. So it's a fairly low number. The rate is a uniform rate. It's fully volumetric, so it's very sensitive to water deliveries. As water deliveries go down, the rate goes up. And as water deliveries go up, the rate goes down. The budget is a $40.49 million budget. It is made up of operations and maintenance is 57% of the budget. Capital projects make up 13%. The aqueduct capital charge, that discretionary charge, is 2% of the budget. Compliance with the biological opinion, water supply reliability projects, and water conservation projects make up 15%, and 13% is debt service. Grants, bond proceeds, and use of fund balance is $7.44 million, and that offsets some of the $40.49 million budget. Compared to the budget for fiscal year 17-18, we see a $1.24 million increase overall. There are some line items that are going up and some that are going down. Operations and maintenance are going up by $1.13 million. And that is largely because we have some fire-related and flood-related water quality studies that we will be doing. We also have some Russian River embankment repairs that we have to do as a result of the floods last winter. And we have some large non-routine maintenance projects that include cathodic protection on the Petaluma Aqueduct and tank recoat projects that also involve cathodic protection. And so those account for the increase in the operations and maintenance. We will be issuing $11.5 million in revenue bonds for some critical infrastructure projects, including some hazard mitigation projects for seismic related hazards. That is why there's an increase in the debt service costs. And again, we have $7.44 million to offset those expenditures. Because the budget is and rate is so sensitive to water deliveries, we like to show what the historical water deliveries are. They have decreased 33% since 2006. That's a very sharp decrease, and that is largely due to the excellent efforts of the water contractors and the community in conserving water. What this does is that because the deliveries are very low, it allows us to push off some of the large capacity-related projects until we have higher water deliveries. So those get pushed out further along the timeline, and so we're able to keep rates more reasonable when we have actual deliveries higher than budgeted deliveries. We put that money in fund balance, and we use that to offset rate increases following year when maybe actual deliveries fall below budgeted deliveries. And budgeted deliveries are prescribed by the restructured agreement, so we can't just pick any number. It's required that we choose the lesser of the 12 months or the 3-year annual average. The couple of capital projects that we will be implementing include the Warm Springs Dam hydroturbine retrofit project. We'll be replacing the hydroturbine with a more efficient and cost-effective hydroturbine. We'll be able to enter an agreement to take advantage of feed-in tariffs. That will allow us to save $300,000 a year on power cost and be able to pay off the expenditures on this capital project within a 5-year period. We also have the Mirabel Dam bladder replacement project. The Mirabel Dam is a rubber bladder. It's filled with water, and it allows us to backfill water behind the dam, and which allows water to infiltrate through the gravels and sands, which are then picked up by the collector wells, and so that we can deliver a clean and reliable source of water to our water contractors. Each year, the water contractors ask us to show a comparison of our wholesale rates with other water contractors. We are on the far left at $878 per acre foot. The other water contractors are higher. We know it's not an apples-to-apples comparison because every water contractor has different geographical challenges, rate structures, customer bases, regulatory requirements. But when they were raising their rates 10, 20, 30% during the drought, we managed to keep our rate increases within the 4 to 6% that the long-range financial planning process informs, and so we're able to keep our rates smooth and avoid large rate spikes. And just to wrap up, again, the budget is based on 41,768 acre-feet in water deliveries, and that translates to a 3.67% rate increase on the Petaluma Aqueduct. Next steps, this budget and rate was recommended by the Technical Advisory Committee on March 5th. We've been doing presentations to city and town councils and water districts during the month of March. In fact, this is the last one. There will be a vote by the Water Advisory Committee on April 2nd, and the rates will be adopted by our board on April 17th. And we're asking that you make a recommendation to your Water Advisory Committee member so that they can be informed on voting on April 2nd. And with that, I'm available for any questions you might have.
Great. I'll look to the council and see if we have any questions, or perhaps our WAC representative would like to speak. Councilmember Harvey, you've served on the Water Agency, and you are the vice chair there now, I believe, as well.
Thank you so much for coming, Lynn. You packed a lot into a short span. I have to remind everyone that this process has been very iterative, and the group has really worked well together, and it's taken many years to do that, and I think that over time has gotten smoother and smoother and smoother. You know, as witnessed by the budget percentages that we're seeing and listening to people's concerns and adjusting accordingly. I do want to point out that in particular for Cotati, since we did our water rate plan a couple years ago, we did a 5-year schedule that this falls within the annual planning amount that we planned for, so it has no impact on our citizens at this point, which is wonderful. And I have watched, you know, a lot of other areas, and they have seen a lot of big spikes, and I know that we are very appreciative that we can work together to kind of smooth that out and not have those spikes, because it's always, really painful when you have a 20% increase, which we have seen before, which doesn't go over so well. So appreciate all the work that you guys do and all the work that you do with us. And I'm really glad that we were not terribly impacted at the water agency from the devastating fires, because it could have been, could have been worse than it was. So appreciate all the work that was done there. I understand there was a lot of water agency staff that helped during that time, and we appreciate all the work they did.
And I can see if there's any questions from the remaining council members.
Do you have one question?
Please.
This is totally out of left field, so if you don't have a reply, it's fine. I was just trying to look for this information when I was reading my packet over the weekend. Do you have like a ballpark as far as the local reservoirs as to what percent they're sitting at right now as far as capacity?
I believe Lake Sonoma is at somewhere north of 75%. It might be as high as 85%. Look it up on the website. That probably does not take into account the rain over the last few days or this past weekend.
Right, the Miracle
But it's
March.
probably on our website. I could probably look it up and let you know.
No, that's
And
okay.
I think
I'll do that.
we'll get an update on that on Monday, because they always give us the most current information,
That's
which
great.
should include the stuff from this week. So you guys are really great about providing us that.
Thank you.
Any questions for staff? None? With that, I'm going to open it to public comment. Seeing none, very good. I'm going to bring it back to the council. Any more comments or questions from anybody? I will just comment very briefly how appreciative I personally am of the leadership of Mr. Davis and all the staff at the water agency. I remember during the downturn almost a decade ago here, when governments all over this county were reeling in, were downsizing amazingly, cutting the services, taking 15% cuts, and I think, was it 12% increase or was it greater, 70%? I can't remember.
It was pretty high.
And Mr. Davis was brand new. We all were brand new and just walked into this. And I look now in the years of more rational thought of how to manage this in a long-term way that's beneficial for everybody and avoids those situations. I'm appreciative every time, and again this year, so thank you for that. So with that, if we have no further discussion, I'm open to a motion.
I would make a motion that we adopt providing direction to the City Water Agency Advisory Committee member to endorse the proposed Sonoma County Water Agency fiscal year 18-19 water transmission system budget.
And this is actually confusing. It says adopt a motion, but providing direction. Do you really need a motion, second, and vote on this, or can we just give direction to our representative?
The only thing I will say is that I believe that the other councils have actually been doing this by motion, so.
Well, we're halfway there, so we'll do that.
I personally don't think you need one, but you might.
We don't want to be left out. So do we have a second for that
Second.
motion? We have a second from the vice mayor. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There we go. Thank you very much for being here tonight. Always a pleasure. Let's see. And this takes us to regular agenda item B, which is a resolution reaffirming the City of Cotati's intent to reduce greenhouse gas emissions in coordination with the Sonoma County Regional Climate Protection Authority, and to adopt local implementation measures as identified in Climate Action 2020. And I believe Mr. Harris has a report for us tonight. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Landman, members of the council. My name is John Paul Harries, and I'm a senior planner with the City of Cotati. Tonight is item 13B, and it begins on page 84 of your packet. And we're discussing the Climate Action 2020 and Beyond plan. That was developed as to function as a regional framework. It was a collaborative effort over many years involving the Regional Climate Protection Agency leading the effort and all the jurisdictions of the county. The intent was to create an efficient and, what's the word I want to say, basically an efficient and collaborative, all-encompassing approach to greenhouse gas emissions. This isn't something that each of us can take on and do, and it helps when we can team up and do it together. Development of this, as I said, was multiple years. It involved input from local government staff, city councils, board of supervisors, expert consultants, and hundreds of members of the public. The draft plan was actually presented to this council in April of 2016, and the final plan and program EIR that was created for this document was approved by the RCPA, the Regional Climate Protection Authority, in July of 2016. Unfortunately, very shortly after that, there was a challenge, a legal challenge brought against the EIR, the program EIR specifically, that challenged it on CEQA procedures. They were successful in that challenge. The RCPA chose not to appeal the decision, and then at their November 2017 meeting rescinded their approval of the EIR. That said, while the EIR can no longer be used as a CEQA compliance tool, the plan itself is still a very good plan. It's a very good plan in addressing greenhouse gas emissions in a coordinated way, and it still retains a lot of its value. The implementation measures within the plan can be implemented, and we can approach them over time, and when we do, we'll look at the CEQA issues. We won't be able to rely on the document that was done for this, and so we may have to analyze them separately as we approach them, or we can make finding in some cases that they're exempt from CEQA review. And you'll find actually when you do look at this, as many of the implementation measures are already within our general plan. These are things we're doing, or if not doing, we're certainly promoting them. And that's really, I think, what I'll say tonight. We're recommending that you adopt the resolution reaffirming Cotati's commitment to reducing greenhouse gas emissions, as well as continuing our collaborative partnership with the RCPA. And of course, I'm available for any questions that you might have.
With that, I'll look to the council and see if anybody has any questions for staff. No questions? I'll open up to the public. And Ms. Alderman, welcome.
I'd first like to ask that Mark Lamon recuse himself from this because he is a paid consultant with Clean Energy USA out of Marin County, and that is a definite conflict of interest to be voting on a resolution. And also, I'm not against green energy at all, but when I looked at all these reports, I'm like, how much money did you guys spend to put together all this stuff for the greenhouse gases? I mean, it's pages after pages, and it just seems like a waste of money. We have a lot bit more needs than this. It's not there's that whole section on Cotati, green plan, and how many staff hours did Mr. J.P. Harris spend on this? Because this is not something that should be at the level of the city council when we have so many problems in this city going on. Thank you.
And thank you. Would anybody else like to speak on this? Mr. Barrich? No one else in the audience? I'm going to bring it back to council. Close public comment. Any comments from the council or questions?
I just appreciate that we've got a water issue and then we've got a greenhouse gas. It's like we're very environmentally focused this evening.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of benefit from this was done, trying to make the most of both leveraging as little staff work as we could possibly do, and also making some help with the RCPA at the same time, and not just in our city, all cities, because that way all of us in the county working together, it's less expensive, and we get a lot more done by combining all that talent. So, and most importantly, as you put rather well, the majority of the measures are already included in Climate Action 2020. They're consistent with things we've already adopted, so we're already going there, and all we're doing is essentially reaffirming that with us tonight. So with that, I'm very comfortable, and I think I have one more comment for I look, hopefully.
Trying to keep them brief tonight.
That's all good. We're,
I think when people use the phrase climate change, it's a very loaded phrase. And a lot of people will take offense to that. It's like, well, how can you say the climate's changing? Where is it caused from? Isn't it part of a natural cycle? And yeah, it probably is. I think we have exacerbated it, and there's so much scientific information out there that shows, you know, just the warming. Let's just look at one issue, just that simple warming. I just had a report come across my desk yesterday that just one small little example of how the climate is changing, that by the year 2050, if nothing happens and there's no change and we don't make any strides with greenhouse gas emissions and whatnot, that over half of the species of birds in Point Reyes, this was done about all the national parks, will be extirpated. And so, you know, that causes concern. Whether it's really going to happen or not, you know, remains to be seen. But are we okay with going down that road, or can we make some relatively simple changes that, you know, would help this issue and not exacerbate it so much? So I think that's something we should be looking at, and we are looking at it. So I'm proud of the city for doing that. And with that, I move to adopt a resolution reaffirming its intent, our intent, to reduce greenhouse gas emissions as part of the coordinated effort through the Sonoma County Regional Climate Protection Authority, and to adopt local implementation measures as identified in Climate Action 2020.
I'd second.
All right, motion from Vice Mayor Delasso and a second from Councilmember Harvey. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None, and that carries unanimously. Thank you, Council. And let's see, this brings us to the City Manager's report. Good evening, Mr. Obid.
That's a rare thing. This is like the first time I'm talking tonight. So I'll lead with one of the most exciting things is, as you know, we had the applications out for requests for proposals out for applications for commercial cannabis businesses. And we received, the due date was yesterday, so we received applications for a total of 10 licenses spread through a variety of categories. We got 2 applications for small indoor cultivation, 1 for micro business, 1 for storefront retail, 1 for level 1 manufacturing, which is like non-volatile solvents, and 1 for level 2 manufacturing, which is the volatile solvent flavor, and 4 for distribution, 3 of which are coincident with other applications. So you can do like manufacturing and distribution at the same place, right? So you could have 2 different licenses at one location. And there's still lots of details to go through as to whether or not all these work as intended at the locations that they're proposed, but it's a good start anyway. So that's we're going to be going through those and then coming back in the near future to the council with hopefully some recommendations. So it's an exciting first step. And then our Parks Master Plan. Last Saturday, March 24th, we had our final of 3 Park Master Plan meetings. And the focus of this last one was the Civic Center, or Cater Field back here, Delano, Vets Park, and the Laguna Trail, which was sort of present at all the 3 public meetings. And we received lots of great feedback at each of these 3 public meetings and are in the process of consolidating the comments, and we'll be posting them on the city website soon. And then the next step is to begin concept plans for the parks based on the input received, which will then go through additional public reviews, so stay tuned. More to come. And then everyone should have recently received our spring-summer community activity guide with our new recreation class schedules and a bunch of new summer camps. So that's exciting. I think that's our 3rd issue now so far. And this past Saturday, which was mentioned earlier, we had our first annual, we're already saying it's annual, we'll see, you know, that's the plan, is to do it again next year, the Bunny Brunch and Egg Hunt at the Cotati Room and the Civic Center Park Field. It was sold out plus more that we could fit in. We had to scramble and throw some more tables up for some overflow, even though we were telling people we weren't taking people out the door. Still people showed up. So we had 94 participants who had brunch, created crafts to take home, took photos with the bunny, and then searched for and found over 800 eggs out in the field. There's a lot of eggs. And I'll just tell you a little funny side story. So they split the age groups into 0 to 4 on one side of like a row of cones, and then, older ages, so the big kids don't push the little kids out of the way and grab all the eggs. And on each side, they had 2 golden eggs, and each golden egg, if you got one, was was for passes for breakfast with Santa this Christmas. And it kind of reminded me of Willy Wonka's, chocolate factory and the golden ticket, because everybody was, they were crazily looking for the golden eggs. And after the kids, there was 2 on each side, they'd found like 1 on each side, and they couldn't find the other 1 on each side. And pretty soon the parents were in there looking for them, and like everyone's looking for these golden eggs. It was pretty funny. But everyone had a great time, and the weather was really nice in the late morning when the egg hunt was. So it was great, and we look forward to doing it again next year and build on it. So anyway, good start. And then next week we're offering our spring break camp, Cotati, for children ages 5 to 12 while school is out and spring break is right around the corner. And we're open from 7:30 to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday while parents are working. Apparently parents don't get that week off too. So we're doing that. And then on Saturday, April 14th, we will hold our first Cotati community yard sale in the Cotati room from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And we're selling items donated by the community at a low cost, and the proceeds are to benefit the Recreation Department to continue offering low-cost and free events and programming for the community. And we'll be accepting gently used items for donation on Friday, April 13th at the Cotati room from 4 to 7 p.m. And we've already actually got quite a bit of stuff, but that's the official drop-off time and day. And then summer camp registration is open on our website for over 20 camps that we're offering, so sign up early to ensure your space. And for more information on classes or to register, you can go to the city website at cotaticity.org or call Ashley Wilson at 665-4222 or awilson@cotaticity.org. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Do we have any questions for the city manager tonight? I do have to say I'm very impressed with taping out the area. That's what I used to have to do at my house with my 2 daughters. There were 5 years difference between them, and we found it just wasn't working for the younger one, and that kept the peace very well. But the question I wanted to ask, 800 eggs. Now, I'm not going to ask who put them there because I know the Easter Bunny did it. But what I want to ask is, since that is a lot of eggs, who was responsible for helping the Easter Bunny here with all that? Because that's a pretty considerable effort. Who do we thank for that?
So we had Ashley and Christian and Brittany, who's our intern in the city manager office, all helping out with the eggs in the morning. And then we also had volunteers. We had Lauren and her husband helping out. I don't know if you did any eggs, but you were there. And then, myself and my family was there, not for the eggs, but for the service part of the event. And then we also had some other community people that helped out. So,
well, very nice. Thanks and congratulations to everybody. Very good. All right, so that is our city manager's report. We're now to city council reports, and I'll start over to my right tonight. And would you like to go first, Councilmember Skillman?
Thank you. I just have one quick one, and it's actually a future one, but on Sunday, I'm going to be doing set up with the Library Advisory Board members. They're setting up a booth at an Easter egg event near the library at the Foxtail Country Club. So that will be what I am doing this coming Sunday. And that's all I have to report for right now.
Well, nothing to report right now.
And I'm going to jump over to Councilmember Harvey.
I have nothing to report as my Waste Management Agency meeting was canceled because they're looking at all of the proposals, so there was nothing for us to do. Sorry.
They're opening the door wide open for us, Vice Mayor DeLasso.
I have about 15 reports that I had for this evening, so please bear with me. No, really just one. Actually, a couple of items. So I did go to the first and to the second parks public meetings, and there were really great turnouts at both of those. I didn't make it to the one last weekend, but it sounds like it went really well. And last week on Thursday, the Ag and Open Space District Advisory Committee, we combined with the Fiscal Oversight Committee for that group, for the agency, and we had a public meeting at the Finley Center on the Vital Lands Initiative, and that's it's a 200-plus page document, but this was the quick synopsis they were handing out that evening to the public. There was a lot of discussion on both, open space and agricultural land, so it was really a nice combination. And that was night number 5 in about a week's time of public meetings they held, and after Thursday, there was supposed to be another 4 or 5 meetings. So they've gone all over the county, from Bodega to Cloverdale, everywhere. And this is a strategic plan. Here's that phrase again, coming up. And, trying to look at how to manage. Currently, there's 114,000 acres, and currently the tax that exists in the county that's been passed twice or 3 times now goes for another 15-ish or so years, and there's a substantial amount of money that is in there, but one person brought up a really good point, and I tried to steer the conversation away from that, and that was, it's great that we're preserving agricultural lands, we need to grow food and so on, and it's great that we're preserving open space for, peace of mind and health and all these wonderful things, but what's happening to our housing issue? That's a valid point, and you want to preserve all these lands. It's just the classic catch-22. I want to move there because of all the beautiful open space, and then everybody else builds all the empty lots around you, right? So it's a little crazy, but I said publicly that, I think cities and counties need to look at growing in a different direction, and that's up. And that's not a saleable point. And I think the public would have a lot of issues with it. I think council, elected members of council and the Board of Supervisors would have a lot of issues with it because, for 50 years we've been growing this way. We've never really grown up. And if you kind of want to have both worlds, you might have to start looking at growing up. So it'll be different. But as I tried to put the kibosh on that, and it was a very lively discussion, it's like, well, that's not a part of the mission. If you read the language of, the Sonoma County Ag and Open Space. So it's a great discussion point, but not something we should be dwelling on. So we did move on. But it was, this is a 20-year general plan, if you will, for the district. So that's what I had. Thanks.
Very good. Let's have a few things very quickly. As Mary did attend the community event that was held in Rohnert Park for Judd Snyder, a noted columnist from the Community Voice, well attended. Some marvelous pictures and good stories about a very fascinating and interesting person. Let's see, at Ledge Committee on March 16th, last week, after 3 years, I have stepped down as chair. We elected a new chair, Rachel Hunley from the City of Sonoma, and the new vice chair is Chris Rogers from the Santa Rosa City Council. And lastly, I believe it was last Thursday, I represented the city as your mayor over at the regular NORBAR, North Bay Area Association of Realtors, regular meeting for Rohnert Park, Cotati, where I presented a slide deck on the state of the city and took some questions and seemed to be very well received. So that's what I have for city council member reports, which brings us now to public comment on non-action agenda items. Fastest hand in the West.
First is the future agenda items. Right now is the perfect time for weed abatement, there's trees that are fire prevention, all those kind of things. We're coming up on the summer. We've just had these rains. It's going to cause weeds, and we all know fire danger. Also, the working with the fire district to on some of the fire related issues in this town. It really there needs to be some definite collaboration, which I'm not seeing right now. The other one I wanted to talk about was I enjoyed the honorary mayor today, but it's time to have a youth council. It's time, I was on it in 1975. It's time to not just bring them up here every month, but to have them be an integral part. There's nothing for teenagers to do here. I know people in my side, they can't even, it's a walk in the rain to City Hall is the closest place, even a park, you know, for these guys to come. It could be over a mile from from Isabel. There's nothing for teenagers to do, and this really needs to be dealt with in a more comprehensive way. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mr. Barrett.
I'd like to recommend a few things for the future agenda on the next few Cotati City Council meetings. One is Comcast Channel 26, public access TV for Rohnert Park, still has nothing on that channel regarding Cotati. Now, either our city manager is misinformed or he's lying, but there's nothing on that channel regarding Cotati. So I would ask you, maybe you few people can watch Channel 26. If you see anything about Cotati on there, please take a picture of it, maybe email it to me, because I'm kind of tired of checking. I really need your help with that, because I think Cotati could do really well with its own dedicated cable channel for our announcements and events and for inviting businesses to Cotati and our celebrations and so forth. So please put that on a future agenda item. Also, weed abatement issue has not been resolved. Still, there is an issue between the Rancho Adobe Fire District and the City of Cotati on whose responsibility it is to enforce the weed abatement ordinances in this town. Now, the mayor's been kind enough to say that he's going to meet with Rancho Adobe soon, and I understand that that invitation is being warmly welcomed. But this issue is a sore spot between the Rancho Adobe and the city. And I think it's high time that we bring this before the City Council and put it on the agenda, bring the fire district in here, and let's find out what's going on before properties are lost and lives are lost because everyone's pointing the fingers about high weeds. I'd also like you to address the homeless issue in Cotati. According to recent guests here at this meeting, there are estimates of maybe a dozen to 2 dozen homeless in our town at any one time, and I'd like to applaud Councilmember Deloso in wanting to put this on a future agenda. We have to be proactive and find out what we're going to do with the homeless that are sleeping out in the cold, in the rain, in their cars, in the worst and coldest months of the year, and when we're going to stop giving lip service to this and actually start doing something about it. So I would like you to support Mr. Deloso's gentle nudge to get you people to put this on the agenda. Last but not least, we talked about greenhouse gases tonight. I'd like you to put on a future agenda to take a hard look on how our greenhouse gases were increased by the recent wildfires. How many thousands of tons of particulate matter went up into the atmosphere? How many cubic yards of greenhouse gases were produced by those wildfires, and how that relates to what our efforts are to reduce greenhouse gases? Because at the rate that we're going, these wildfires are going to grossly exceed any of our estimates about greenhouse gases. And maybe we need an official report on how that affected our numbers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barrett. Anybody else like to speak on non-action items tonight? I see one other person in the audience, and I'm not seeing anyone new, so I think we're good. All right, that takes us to information received after the agenda was posted. Do we have any supplemental information tonight, City Manager? None? With that, we're going to be moving to closed session on the subject matter of public employee compensation. California Government Code Section 54957.6. The unrepresented employee will be the city manager, and the city designated representatives will be council members Deloso and Moore. Before I adjourn to closed session, this is an action item, and sure enough, I look up, there's a hand up. Please approach.
My understanding is this is for Damien's evaluation. Damien, for over a year now, has sent a reply to me, almost every email I send that is degrading, and he does it out of spite. He's done it, like last week, I think he did 3 times in 2 days. This is way below the standard of a city manager have, especially one that earns $240,000 according to Transparent California that's with benefits. And that is $300 from every child, woman, and man in Cotati that have paid for Damien, and we should be having the respect of him, and have a much more transparent and effective administration. He personally oversaw for 2 years that not one building code was ever enforced next door during contamination of our soil from the fires. He did absolutely nothing. And I believe that should be a consideration of what you do. I do not think he deserves any more money. If you plan on a raise, it's not well spent. And again, $300 per every woman, child, and man in the city to pay him. So we deserve better.
Thank you. Anybody else want to comment? No? Seeing that? All right, we are adjourning to closed session at 8:14, and we'll take a 5-minute break before we meet in the city manager's chamber, or rather over here in the office, I believe, is where we're going to be meeting. So thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time. Recommendations to amendments to the city manager's contract. And the time is 9:14. Is there any public comment? Thank you very much. Did you want to talk?